What's up, kings and queens? It's your boy Dan from Daft Previews, and we are at week 9 in the NFL. Damn, this season has moved fast. I've got a couple of picks to share with you today. I've got 2 quarterback picks that I absolutely love. I've got a bitch ass parlay on some running backs, and we got the 100 club for some wide receivers. I've got 3 wide receivers that I think are going to hit 100 yards this weekend. Now, if that sounds interesting, let's go. So we're jumping into Outlier. It's a great tool. Check it out. 7-day free trial in the video description below. Now, whilst I've got your attention, I ask you to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're close to 12,000 subscribers. And when I say close, we're probably about 800 away. But with the support of you guys, we can definitely get there real quick. So 12,000 subscribers, that's the goal for me. Let's get it. Subscribe, baby. Now let's talk about it. Quarterback props first. I got 2 of these I want to go through. The very first one, you can see it up on the screen here. We're looking at Joe Flacco, looking at over in his passing yards in this game. Now let's take a look. Firstly, he was over this line in all the games that he played last season. Amazing. In every start that he had. This year, not as consistent, right? He's only gone over this once, 1 out of the 3 games. Now, why am I taking Joe Flacco today? A lot of it comes down to this matchup. Up against the Minnesota Vikings, their secondary been terrible so far this year. They've allowed 5 out of the last 8 quarterbacks to go over their passing yards line. If we look at their defense here, bottom 3 in terms of passing yards allowed. And Joe Flacco, not afraid to let that thing fly. So I think the game stays close. I think the Colts do trail, though, and that means Joe Flacco is going to air this thing out. So I do like it. He's going to throw this ball around. They're going to be needing some points, and he's got an excellent matchup for it. It's as simple as that. Joe Flacco over his passing yards. Next up, I'm taking Jalen Hurts over his passing yards, 218 at the moment, but be sure to line shop. This did open at 208. It has moved up by 10 yards already. Now let's talk about Jalen Hurts. He's over this line in 4 out of 7 games, averaging 220 yards per game. Pretty much very inconsistent. He's either killing this line or not getting close to it. Now, why are we taking Jalen Hurts? Well, for one, I think the Eagles are starting to get hot, starting to find some form. They did just beat Cincinnati, the Bengals, last week, and, pushover, despite them not playing that well this season. The Eagles did manage to pump them 37-17. Looking at this Eagles team, we got A.J. Brown back fully healthy, which is good for the Eagles, and it's good for my fantasy team as well. Devontae Smith, he's playing very well. I feel like this line for Jalen Hurts is disrespectful. It's just a little bit too low for me. I'd take this all the way up to 230. Let's go. Now, Jalen Hurts, what are some other reasons why we like the over? Not only is he talented, not only does he have the wide receivers who are going to help get these yards, he's up against the Jacksonville Jags this weekend. And the Jags have pretty much the worst passing defense in the entire NFL. 31st out of 32 teams in passing yards allowed. You can see it here, 271 yards per game. Their secondary is dog shit. And with A.J. Brown dominating the way that he has been in the limited games he has played this season, I think Jalen Hurts can get there pretty easily. It's as simple as that. He's good enough to cover it. We've seen it many times this year. The matchup is excellent, and he's got a healthy pack of wide receivers out there. So I like Jalen Hurts. Throw that thing around, win or lose. I think he's going to get these yards covered. So those are the 2 quarterback plays that I'm going to be running as straight bets. Next, we've got some running back plays, and I did find quite a few running backs that I did like, but the NFL, it's like a 10 to 20 unit weekend if you run everything that you like as 1 unit. So for these running backs, I'm pretty much going to build a bitch-ass parlay with you guys, take the running backs I like, move their lines down a little bit, and we're going to play it that way. So the first one that I do like, looking at Tony Pollard here from the Tennessee Titans, and I do like his over in his rushing yards, but I'm going to take 50 to play it safe. But let's talk about the reasons why. Firstly, Titans favorites here against the Patriots, believe it or not. This season, Tony Pollard's been a beast, 4 out of 7 games, averaging 70 yards. He's got a good matchup. New England, bottom 10 in the yards allowed on the ground. Bottom 3 when it comes to yards allowed to running backs. So pretty much all these picks that you can find that I pretty much do have in common, it's a neutral game script or an excellent game script for some running yards with lowered lines that they're very capable of hitting. So Tony Pollard, averaging 70 yards, I need 50. He's in a game where the Titans are favorites to win up against a team that doesn't defend the ground game very well at all. It's that simple. So I do like his over, but for me, bitch-ass parlay time. Just taking him for 50. Next up, might be a popular play on the board today, but do we get to see the best of Alvin Kamara again? Because I do like his over in his rushing yards. It's at 71.5. But we're also taking him for 50. Now, this line continues to soar. It opened at 60.5. It's up to 71.5 now. And if you look on the season, he was an absolute beast early on. And then his quarterback got injured and things got really dicey from there. But good news is his quarterback returns. So I think the Saints, they're going to look much better in this game. Also, Williams, they're out. Derek Carr, like I said, he's back. The Panthers, this matchup is ideal for him. They're allowing the most rushing yards per game. Specifically, they struggle against people just like Alvin Kamara. The Saints, they do run the second most zone concepts per game. The Panthers, terrible defending that. So Alvin Kamara, I think he bounces back. We should get him 70, 80, 90 to 100 yards here. But all I'm asking for in this bitch-ass parlay is just for 50. Give me that 50, baby. So you can see it here using Outlier. Second most yards on the ground, second most yards to running backs. It's a very straightforward play. I'm not surprised to see the line completely explode, but I'm going to be safe and just take Alvin Kamara for 50. The next player we're looking at here is Kyren Williams from Los Angeles. Now, this probably has a more neutral game script against the Seattle Seahawks, but the matchup is excellent, and this guy's been pretty consistent as of late. So his line's at 92.5. Whilst I do like the over, I think it could be a little bit dicey. But when I take this down to 75, I absolutely love it. So I'm taking him for 75 yards as part of my BAP. He's come in 5 consecutive games. He is averaging 76 yards this season. Their favorites, the LA Rams in this game, up against the Seahawks. But the Seahawks have been terrible on the ground this season. Third yards allowed on the ground and the most yards to running backs. I think Kyren Williams just does what he has been doing. Just trucking it up the field, getting those yards, ticking that clock down. I do like it. So he's 92.5, probably a little bit sweaty, but 75, part of my BAP, give me that. Easy money. The last one, we're looking at Aaron Jones from the Minnesota Vikings. His line's at 75.5, and I'm taking him for 50 as well. Now you can see this season, 4 out of 7, averaging 71 yards per game. This has game script all over it. The Vikings favorites against the Colts. So most likely they take the lead and they get more opportunities to run. And then if you look at the matchup, Indiana allow the third most rushing yards on the ground, third most specifically to running back. So all 4 players have something very similar. They've got ideal matchups. They've got great game conditions. They're either favorites to win by a large margin or just favorites to win, meaning we get a neutral game script at the least. So I think Aaron Jones easily can cover 50 in this game. One of these games where he went under the 50, I think he got injured in that game against the Jets. Actually, I know he did. That game was in London, and I was watching that game, and that absolutely broke my heart. I didn't dive into what happened here in the San Fran game. His rush attempts were low, so one could assume it could be an injury. Who knows? But 50 yards for Aaron Jones up against the Colts, give me that. That's easy money. So I was able to get these 4 plays, bitch out them down at plus 170. So just check your different sports books, do some line shopping, see what you get. But I'll pop a screenshot up so you can see what I'm on. Next, we're talking about the 100 Club. I got 3 receivers here that I think can tick over 100 yards this week. The one I'm looking at here is Justin Jefferson. So we're staying in the same game. Now, if you look at Justin Jefferson on the year, he's hit 100 twice. He's averaging 92 yards per game, though. So consistent. He gets the most targets, most receiving yards for this Vikings team. And this Colts defense struggled against wide receivers this season. You can see overall, they allow the 8th most receiving yards in the competition. And up against wide receivers, they're bottom 12. So the matchup is nice here for Justin Jefferson. The Colts, they let Nico Collins, George Pickens, Romeo Odunze, Brian Thomas, they all went for 100 yards against them. And I'm looking for Justin Jefferson to add his name to the list. Joe Flacco named to start for the Colts, which I think is good for them, which I think keeps the game close. And if the game's close enough, it means Minnesota's still going to need to throw that thing. So I do like Justin Jefferson here to get 100. The way that I'm playing these 3, by the way, I'll put just 1 unit across all of them. And the way that I'm thinking about it, I'll probably do 0.3 units on each of these guys to get 100, and then 0.1 units on all 3 of them as a parlay combined. Why the hell not? Let's have some fun with it. So Justin Jefferson is the first one. The next one I'm looking at here is CeeDee Lamb from the Dallas Cowboys. Now let's talk about it. His line's at 88.5. Now CeeDee Lamb, part of the Cowboys team that's been a bit underwhelming this season, and I think they really need to turn their shit around. They lost to San Fran. They got destroyed by Detroit. They just beat Pittsburgh. They just beat the Giants. They just lost to Baltimore. They got pumped by New Orleans, and they beat the Cleveland Browns. So they've really got to turn their season around, and part of that comes with their playmakers and their receivers getting all their shit together. So Dallas, they actually throw the ball 66% of the time, which is pretty wild. And CeeDee Lamb, he gets targeted 23% of the time, I believe. So his target share is absolutely massive this season. It's actually 25%, even better. So he's averaging 9 targets per game, which is wild. CeeDee Lamb's going to be looked at for sure. 15 yards per 15 yards per reception as well. He's up against Falcons with a matchup. It's not that bad, but it's not that great either. But in saying that, my man needs to step it up. Him and Dak, they got to get their shit together if this Dallas Cowboys team is going to have any chance here. So I like CeeDee Lamb to go long, catch some bombs, and get to 100 yards for us. That's another 0.3 units on you, my man. And then lastly, AJ Brown. I think he was one of my top 3 picks in my fantasy team, so he better deliver for me. But looking at the over, and this is probably a really popular play because it's extremely straightforward. The over on his yards. He's played games this season. He's gone over 79.5 in every single game. I'm taking him for 100 because he is up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we just spoke about this when I spoke about Jalen Hurts. They're terrible. And their secondary is awful. In terms of receiving yards, they allow the 3rd most receiving yards and the 4th most receiving yards to wide receivers. AJ Brown's going to get his looks for sure. He's getting 5.3 receptions per game, a 29% target share. And this Philadelphia team, only a 47% pass rate. But given how bad this secondary is, I think he's going to have tons of opportunities here. So I do like AJ Brown, just keeping it straightforward, real simple. I think he goes over his line, but me being me, let's take him for 100. So all 3 of those guys I'm going to take for 100. 0.3 units on each, 0.1 units on all of them. So for example, if you're running $50 units, you run put $5 on the parlay for all 3 of them to get 100. Have a little bit of fun this weekend. Be sure to check out my partners, Chalkboard, Parlay Play, Rebet, Dabble, Better, and Boom. A lot of these guys giving away free squares. Take advantage of these free squares during the NFL because they're just giving away free money. Great way to build your bankroll. Plus, get deposit matches as well and sign up bonuses. So feel free to check those guys out. I hope you guys liked today's video. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what your best bets are for this upcoming set of games. I'll be sure to catch you guys in the next one. Till then, peace.